Okay, so on an electronic chart or even in a paper chart, when you see white, that means the waters are greater than 20 meters deep. When they are of different colors, so yellow is land, so it always goes from dark to light. So remember, the darker the color, the worse it is for your vessel. Okay, the darker the color, the worse it is for your vessel. So waters more than 20, it's white. You have a light blue, that's from 20 to 10. You have a dark blue, 10 to 5. And then on some charts, you can have a darker blue, that's 5 and below. But suffice to say, if you see yellow, that's bad news, that's land. A green, that's you're going to talk about reefs. Okay, and then dark blue, light blue, and then white. Okay, so that's how the color scheme works on electronic charts. So it's more than 20, 10 to 20, 10 to 5, or 10 to 0. Okay, depending on the scale, but generally that's how charts work. So that's the color scheme. So we'll start again back at the Causeway. Okay, so you see this dotted line in between in magenta. So I know it's tempting to say purple, but the technical word is magenta. That's the separation between Singapore and Malaysia. Okay, so if you are driving your boat along here, don't expect to see a line in the water. Okay, it's like the equator. It's not going to be marked out. It's just going to be on a chart. And the buoys and the beacons that are around aren't exactly in the middle. So remember, if you are a Singapore vessel and you want to stay in Singapore waters, stay closer to the Singapore side of the land. If you have already cleared immigration and you're actually, say, going to Sabana Cove, you're in Malaysian waters, stick closer to the Malaysian side. Okay, so don't follow the buoys because the buoys are not in the middle. So remember that. So that's just a slight difference. So that's Johor, that's Singapore, and again, the causeway is solid. Not like the second link. The second link you can go under, but we'll come to that in a while. So this is Sembawang. Yep. So the whole area, again, because it's quite narrow, not meant for anchoring, but you can do water skiing, and you will know those places tomorrow. Okay, and we'll come over to Sembawang Shipyard. Sembawang Shipyard is slowly moving out. They're drawing down the scale of shipbuilding here, and everybody's moving over to Tuas. Okay, so that's the approximate line in between Singapore port waters and Malaysia waters. So vessels still do come here. When they come here, they are usually going to Johor Port. So Johor Port is accessible from the East Johor Straits. You're looking at a container terminal and Malaysia Shipbuilding, which is here. Sorry, yeah, missed it. Malaysia Shipbuilding and Engineering. Okay, so that's this whole area here. So you will see sometimes large vessels coming into the channel. It's very narrow, but they'll come in anyway, and they're heading for the shipbuilding or the container terminal over here. So this is Pulau Seletar, or Pulau Seletar, or otherwise known. Yep. Okay, so that's a nice water skiing area over here. Designated water skiing area. Again, we'll cover that tomorrow. This is all now reclaimed. If you're going to drive around this area, it's in Punggol. So all over here. Marina Country Club. Let me zoom that out a bit. You can see context. So Marina Country Club up in Punggol. If you are renting boats from there, most people actually do water skiing. So they'll come out, head out to Pulau Seletar and do the water skiing. This island is called Coney Island. Used to be an island. Now it's joined to the mainland, and it's a park. I think you can park your car here and then have a nice hike through Coney Island. Opposite Coney Island is Pulau Ubin, over in the northeast of Singapore. Okay, so it's so the Singapore territorial waters, if you see the line, comes here and then it goes up north because Pulau Ubin belongs to Singapore. cuts in between Johor and Pulau Ubin. So, oh, sorry, forgot to mention. A couple of nice fish farms over here. Once you pass the Sembawang shipyard, if you ever get a boat from either Marina Country Club or if you're around this area, feel free to stop by one of those fish farms, the kelongs. And if the lady on board your yacht asks nicely, usually the fisherman will sell some fish. I don't recommend the guys asking though. Yeah, the fish farm people can be a bit hostile. Yeah, but yep. So a lot of fish farms up there, some fish farms around here. So and some old kelongs in this area, and that's why the speed limit in this part, basically from here to here, is 12 knots. So in Singapore, there are only 3 areas where there is a speed limit in the water: East Johor Straits, 12 knots; any river, 5 knots; and Cruise Bay, 6 knots. Okay. So that's Pulau Ubin. This is Chek Jawa, Tanjung Chek Jawa. I'm not sure if any of you have visited. It's a nice, what's that? It's flora and it's a tidal basin. So basically at low tide, go and visit Chek Jawa. It's got a nice boardwalk, and you can see basically a reef drying at low tide. Okay, this is Pulau Tekong, a huge island to the northeast or the east of Singapore. Pulau Tekong used to be 2 islands, Pulau Tekong Kecil. If you look at my cursor, this is the one, Pulau Tekong Kecil, and Pulau Tekong Besar, which means big in Malay, which is this one. So that was then. But now it's the Singapore Armed Forces training area. So they've reclaimed the whole of Pulau Tekong, and now it looks like that. Still within Singapore territorial waters because it goes up and goes around like that. So that's all Singapore waters. That's how, yep. Okay, so around like that. And so this is the East Johor Straits. This is Changi Airport. Okay. Okay, and the Changi Ferry Terminal, which only operates to support Pulau Tekong. You can't, this is not the ferry terminal to go to Bintan. The one that goes to Bintan is over here at Tanah Merah. Okay, so that's the Changi Ferry Terminal. Any of you cycle? Bill, you cycle, right? Have you cycled in this area? The coastal road? Yep, the Changi coastal road, right? So you're quite familiar with this? Yeah. Have you cycled past the ferry terminal up north?
Yeah.
Have you seen the hovercraft?
I don't recall seeing a hovercraft, no.
Okay, so there are 2 hovercrafts, I would say operational in Singapore. They belong to the Changi Airport Group. They're firefighting hovercraft. So they are meant for, I think, rescue in case an airplane ditches somewhere here. They're meant for that. Otherwise, probably the only hovercraft in Singapore. Yep. So that's the whole of the east. So coming down, we see. Decided to hang on me. Oh, sorry. Okay. So we'll come down to the east, and so this huge area, nicely marked out, is Changi Naval Base, a prohibited area. So if you bring your boat, you can't get in there. You get arrested. Changi Naval Base is the waters around it are nicely marked by buoys like that, yellow buoys. Again, tomorrow's lesson you'll find out what yellow buoys are. To mark out special areas. You see these squiggly lines under? Those are all submarine cables linked from Singapore to rest of the world, basically. So they go out and submarine cables all the way to maybe Japan. Oh yeah, speaking about submarine cables, no one asked me, and maybe then I'll ask you guys. If you're anchored and then you are going to weigh anchor and you pull your anchor up and your anchor's stuck, what do? Anyone? You find your anchor stuck, what do?
Give up the anchor.
Sorry, give up?
Let go lah. I mean, just throw away the anchor lah. Let it go.
Throw away the anchor. Yeah. Bill, has this happened to your fleet before? Has anyone lost an anchor?
We've had anchors break. I mean, as much as that sounds odd, we've had anchors break, we've had chains break. I'm not aware that we've ever had a situation of stuck anchors where, because normally I think you go forward or you go back or you try and loosen it.
Yeah. So the conventional wisdom is the first time you try pulling it up and it's stuck. The conventional wisdom is you try a little bit harder. Okay, you try a little bit, you try to pull a little bit harder, you try to use the winch a little bit, try to move your vessel a little bit. But you have to stop after a while because you don't know unless you really know what's going on underwater. It could be as something simple as it is stuck with another rope from another vessel which threw it overboard, or the worst case scenario is actually stuck on a submarine cable. Yeah, because maybe you wanted to anchor here, let's say. Yeah, let me zoom that in. You wanted to anchor here, this nice corner, but because your navigating officer is such a cool and hip fella, he's flying by the seat of his pants, and you actually anchored over here, your anchor could actually be hooked up on a submarine cable. So conventional wisdom is you can try a little bit, but after a while, you have to actually leave your anchor. Okay, do not force your anchor up, because if you pull a cable up, you may break some telecommunication wires, but doesn't matter because all of those cables usually carry power. In the worst case, you could get a lot of people electrocuted on your vessel. So if your anchor is stuck, that's just a lesson that you have to learn, and leave your anchor in. So on your yacht, you just cut the rope on a super tanker or something. So while you see those chains are huge and they look like they can't be broken, actually they can be disconnected. So those chains are in between the chains. There are certain places where you can actually disconnect the cable and you can throw the whole thing in the water, and then you come back, or you call a salvage company to come pick it up another day. Yep. So on a chart, on an electronic chart, before you anchor, always check to make sure that firstly you're in the correct position that you want to be in, and make sure there's nothing like that underwater. So all these are submarine cables belonging to usually other people, and you shouldn't just anchor on them. Okay, so that's why along these areas you see this no anchoring symbols. Yeah, the problem is anchoring areas are quite near to them, so just gotta be spot on when you decide you want to let go of the anchor. Okay, so that's the east of Singapore. This is the Tanah Merah ferry terminal. Okay, up here, and those are for vessels or for ferries. So ferries which operate not Nongsa but all the way to Bintan. So if you want to go to Club Med Bintan, that's where you get from. The Nongsa ones run from Cruise Bay. So even on the chart, they actually tell you information. So mariners, so there's a big sticker here that says ferries. Mariners are warned frequent ferry crossings in the Singapore Straits and should therefore navigate with particular caution. Okay, so it's a precautionary area because it's full of cables, explosives dumping ground, people throw stuff in here, and to make matters worse, you've got ferries. And you can see this is the start of the traffic separation scheme. So it's a lot of things happen here. Okay. Yep. Okay. So that's the eastern part of Singapore. We come to East Coast Park. Anyone here stay at Laguna Park? Or familiar with the condo called Laguna Park? Oh, no one. So Bedok Lighthouse is here. Bedok Lighthouse is block 5000D, Marine Parade Road, Laguna Park condominium. It's basically they used a condominium block and they built a lighthouse on it. Tomorrow you will see pictures of it. But that's in Laguna Park condominium. So this is the whole of East Coast Park, and this is the whole anchorage. So if you ever cycle around here, run along the beach, you can see all the vessels nicely parked here. More so right now because of circuit breaker. So we've got all the waters up here. This is the Marina Reservoir and Marina Barrage. So if you're navigating in the waters here, the rules say the maximum speed you have is 5 knots. How do you get your boat inside here? Anyone? If you've got a yacht in 115, which is here, how do you bring your boat into the barrage?
They've got a hoist over there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the idea was to make this feel a lot like Monaco during the Grand Prix. So the Grand Prix happens here. So the idea was to have boats, lined up around this way. So, and they know that to facilitate that, they've built a hoist. It's a 150-ton hoist over the barrage. So I'm not sure how much it costs. I think it's 4 figures. Oh, Andre, you know how much it costs?
The last time I did it was 2010, and the hoist amount was only about 200 back then.
Oh, back then 200. Okay.
Back then.
How big was your boat?
It was a 40-some foot Grand Banks.
Oh, okay. $200.
Yeah, but
that was
that was like one of the first F1s. It was a long time ago.
Okay, so that's a good deal. I can check how much it costs, but I know it's not as affordable as $200 anymore.
Yeah.
So basically, there's a hoist here. You bring your boat around. They'll hoist it up and put it in the water over here, and you can enjoy going around the Marina Reservoir. Okay, so that's over here. That's Gardens by the Bay. And we come to I guess the exciting area, which is the Southern Islands. Most of you, when you get a boat, will be exploring this area. Let's just go through the islands one by one. Okay, so we'll start at the Causeway. This is Vivo City. Yep, Harbourfront. Everyone's familiar with that. So there's a nice causeway coming up. So as you're driving into Sentosa, if you look on your left, you would see a prohibited area. This area is called Silat Singkir. I think it's important enough that I think I have to type it out. Okay, Silat Singkir. That's this water over here, and it's a prohibited area because that's the home to the police coast guard. So if you drive around here, you'll see the nice golf course here, obviously, but you'll see a very nice police coast guard base over here. So that's Silat Singkir, close waters. They are also shifting out. I'm not sure when, because this whole Pulau Brani will become a Brani container terminal, just like the whole of Keppel, this whole area. So that's driving into Sentosa, and what you see on Sentosa would be, obviously, the key marina here. It's 115, 1 degree 15. So the boat shop area has got boats there. If you want to charter something, you would come out from 1 degree 15 to explore these areas. So the minute you come out of 115, if you're sailing south, don't go straight. Well, I mean, you can go straight if you know what you're looking at. Okay, so let's say you're going to Lazarus Island. Lazarus Island is, I guess, a really unspoiled beach. You would come left, go around these marks, come south, and hit for this bay. So this is Lazarus Island, beautiful unspoiled beach. Anyone has been here before? A couple of people. Lazarus Island. Nice. Okay. Yep. So it's a nice unspoiled beach. So most people come Lazarus Island over here. Over here, you have to anchor the boat and then swim ashore. If you come to this side of Lazarus Island, there's actually a small jetty. And actually there's a function hall over here run by the national parks. If you want to have a wedding solemnization, you can actually do it on the island over there. So that's Lazarus Island right in the middle. To the right or to the east of Lazarus Island is Kusu Island. Kusu Island is a small island famous for its temple on a hill. People actually go there to give offerings. Okay, so that's Causeway Island. So when you charter your boat, that's another place, 2 jetties here for you to drop off and explore the island for the day. Yep. Attached to Lazarus Island right now, there's a small bridge there, is St. John's Island. St. John's Island is a marine park, and it's a small campsite, so you can go there and camp. So as I was saying, you can go to Lazarus Island by a safer journey. If you're a little bit more comfortable, you can actually make this passage this way. The problem is if you're not careful and you go this way, you get into trouble with this reef right here. Midway Reef and Terumbu. Terumbu is Malay for the word, is the Malay word for reef. Okay, Terumbu. So Buran Reef over here. So if you're careful, you can do this way. If you're not careful, you get stuck. Yeah, this is dangerous. Okay, so that's St. John's. This island over here is called Tekukor, Tekukor. Claim to fame, used to be where the Singapore Armed Forces kept ammunition in an underground bunker. Okay, so that used to be where we did it. Okay. Obviously Sentosa, obviously quite familiar. Sisters Island is a pair of islands, part of the Sisters Island Marine Park. This is where I mentioned about immigration and quarantine. So there is a Western Quarantine and Immigration anchorage designated over here, just north of the place. So a vessel requesting for immigration clearance would anchor here, and the Malaysian immigration would get into a boat, come out, meet you, grab your passports, and do your clearance, and then go back. And then you're free to leave Singapore and go to Malaysia. Okay, so that's the Western Quarantine Immigration area. Moving on, we come to the industrial part of the Southern Islands. So we'll start with Pulau Sebarok. Oh, and guess what? You need to know these all for the test, okay? You will need to know because they will ask questions. Where is Pulau Sebarok? Where is Pulau Semakau? And so on and so forth. Some local area knowledge is required from everyone boating in Singapore. So Pulau Sebarok is an oil tanking terminal next to Pulau Semakau. Pulau Semakau is the landfill, and I think it's going to be a UNESCO World Heritage Site because it's got a great conservation area. So north of that is Pulau Bukom, owned by Shell. Pulau Bukom, Shell's oil refinery location. And to the north of that, I'm sure you're all familiar with Jurong Island. Used to be 5 separate islands, now all reclaimed into one huge mess called Jurong Island. And also linked to Singapore by a physical causeway that you cannot sail underneath. Okay, the Republic of Singapore Yacht Club is over here at the west coast. So be aware, that's the Singapore Yacht Club. That's the Singapore Polytechnic Singapore Maritime Academy, where you're going to take your test. So remember, that's the narrow channel. You come out, you make a left turn. That's the blind corner. Make a left turn, do your man overboard drills over here, and then go back. So that's the minute you come out of the yacht club, when you get your boat, it's crowded. Okay, that's a hovercraft running here. West Coast Pier is a landing point for many vessels at anchor, which means you got a huge ship at anchor, but how they get their crew onto the shore is they get a ferry to come pick them up and bring them to West Coast Pier. It's Pasir Panjang Terminal, so you've got ships berthed around here, container ships. You've got huge tankers lined up all around Jurong Island. So you can imagine, I mean, this is a very plain chart. It's not going to show you any traffic, but when you actually get to see, this is cluttered. Okay, cluttered. And of course, there are fast ferries going up and down always. Fast ferries because they are coming out from, this is Cruise Bay, speed limit of 6 knots, managed by Cruise Bay. Okay, so some cruise ships come berth here, but most of them, of course, go to Marina South already. And Keppel Marina is over here. So if you come out of Keppel Marina, you go through called the Dragon's Teeth of Singapore, and you're passing Sentosa, you turn left and you hit down south. Okay, so that's the Cruise Bay area. Okay, so we finished with Pulau Bukom. Over here, these 2 cute islands is called Pulau Hantu, Hantu. This again is a gazetted water skiing area. Unfortunately, it's also a gazetted anchorage area for work boats. So Pulau Hantu is it's a nice place to visit. If you bring your boat, there's a jetty, park over here, have a picnic. At high tide, it's very tempting to want to bring your boat through this area. We don't recommend it because we've seen boats get stuck. Okay, so don't do this. So don't sail over anything green. That's Pulau Hantu. Okay, moving south from Pulau Semakau, Pulau Sebarok, we'll come to 3 very important islands: Pulau Sudong, Pulau Pawai, Pulau Senang, collectively known as the Southern Islands Live Firing Area. Okay, Southern Islands Live Firing Area, another prohibited area, and vessels have been given summons for encroaching in this area, simply because it's got good fishing grounds. Yep. Okay. Bill, you wanted to ask something?
No.
No. Okay. Oh, sorry. Good fishing grounds. Another good fishing ground. Sorry, I missed this part. So if remember, if you look at the charts, generally Singapore 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 meters. And this is the deepest part of Singapore. I want to just show this to you guys. 200 and where's it? Hang on. There's a hole right in the water here. That's 162 meters. That's 100. That's 107. Hang on, I missed the spot.
Right there. There, 285.
Sorry?
Isn't it 285?
Yes, that's 207. Okay, thank you.
Just southeast of
South
where
of
you're
that?
right now. Your cursor's right there now. Just to the top left
This-
of that.
That one? No, it's 28.5.
Oh, 28.
Okay, so that's 207. That's technically almost the deepest part of Singapore waters. So obviously, if you anchor here, you're going to need 1.6 kilometers of rope on your ship. So this is a deep hole. Basically, this feature, and you know, remember I mentioned to you about big ships coming in and then running over small vessels that they don't know they're running over. Unfortunately, that's happening over here. Okay, so there are a lot of small fishing vessels from Indonesia running around here at night because it's nice and deep. It's got, I think it's a pretty good fishing ground. Unfortunately, it's also the deep water route, so we've got huge vessels coming up and down, and people get into trouble over here. The waters here are also quite disturbed. So if you see the symbol on the chart, they're just showing you quite big waves. So water that flows here is confused because it's shallow and then it's deep, and then from water which is deep and then coming back up suddenly to shallow, you get just disturbed water on the top. So that's just for you guys to know, the deepest parts of Singapore, just south of St. John's Island. So coming back to our fishing grounds, so one popular fishing area is here to the east of Pulau Senang. That's quite a popular area to fish. And unfortunately, right in the Southern Island live firing area is a great place to fish, but I don't recommend you guys doing that, okay? Just, it's heavily patrolled by the police coast guard, so you will get caught. Okay, so Southern Islands live firing area. They don't actually throw ordnance, live ordnance on this place. It's a live firing area in the sense that, so if you have a military exercise and you have airplanes taking off from the mainland with live ordnance, even if for some reason that live ordnance, you can't drop it, that bomb is live, you're not going to bring it back to Tengah Air Base. You're not going to bring it back to Paya Lebar Air Base. That's just crazy. So the planes that carry hung, it's called hung ordnance, have to land in Pulau Sudong. So Sudong, there's a runway. They'll land here, and then the explosive ordnance team will come over to Pulau Sudong and detonate, defuse the bomb so that everyone can go back safely. So that's the designated space. This area as well, they do bombing runs. So you have planes coming in, and then they'll use electronic equipment to simulate a bombing run onto the space. So that's why the whole area is designated live firing area, and you can't enter. Okay, and coming up to Jurong Island. Okay, this is the traffic separation zone. All this belongs to Indonesia. Okay, so vessels coming in from along the traffic separation scheme, going to the Indian Ocean, keep north and go around this, head into the Strait of Malacca. If you're coming from the Strait of Malacca and you're heading to the South China Sea, this way, if you're not going into Singapore, you'll come down and continue south and make a hard left turn. Just look, it's a 90-degree turn up this way. You miss your turn, it's bad news. Quite a bit of shallow water here. So the mariners have to be alert, make this left turn and up into the Singapore Strait, avoiding this whole patch, avoiding this patch. Okay, so if you depart from the live firing area, you come to this space known as New Singapore, or what I call New Singapore. Singapore used to stop about here. Okay, that used to be the limit of the land. Tuas. but then we've gone on to reclaim this whole area. So this is the new mega port in Singapore. And when I mentioned about Sembawang being drawing down, they're all shifting to the mega port over here. And I mentioned to you the 5 islands making up Jurong Island has been reclaimed to one big huge island over here. So that's a nice narrow channel. Over here is Tuas Naval Base, used to be the edge of Singapore, but because of all this, it's going to shift out to the outcrop here soon. What's interesting about here is that if you look at this feature, and tomorrow you'll see a picture of it. This, where I'm pointing to, is Sultan Shoal Lighthouse. So Sultan Shoal Lighthouse used to be able to greet mariners coming in from the Indian Ocean, the Straits of Malacca, and then they would see the Sultan Shoal Lighthouse and they know they're coming to Singapore. Unfortunately, that's all changed now. So she's almost landlocked. So that's a pity. So Sultan Shoal Lighthouse is over there. Okay, so this is Singapore port waters. So we've reclaimed all within our territorial waters, and that's our port limit, quite near to the Johor Bahru port limit over here. Okay, so coming into back up north, there is this is a explosives and hazardous goods anchorage. And this is the, let me find the jetty. Hang on, sorry. There's an explosive goods jetty. Let me find it. Dang. Okay, here we go. So this is the dangerous goods jetty. So if you're unloading ammunition, you're unloading whatever is classified dangerous goods like certain kinds of chemicals, you can only do it here. And you need to know the regulations that apply to this. So if you're passing the jetty, you have to pass it at a distance greater than 400 meters. If you're going to anchor, you can only anchor greater than 600 meters away from it. There's a small ramp here. You need to keep 60 meters away from the ramp. So that's the Tuas explosive goods jetty. I'm sorry. Anchoring is 400 meters. Passing is 200 meters. Okay. So that's the jetty. And then we'll come up to the north here. And you will come to the next marina in Singapore, which is the Raffles Marina. So in Raffles Marina, you can do customs and clearance from Raffles Marina. So if you have a boat here, you do your clearance here, and then you get out of Singapore, and you can go under this is the second link. The second link, the height, at this point, if your vessel is less than 10 meters, that's where you pass. If your vessel is 25 meters, you pass in the middle. So you can sail underneath the second link. So if you are taking your pleasure craft from Raffles Marina and you're going to Putri Harbour for the day, you do your clearance here, go under the second link, go straight into Malaysian waters and go into Putri Harbour Marina. So there's a nice hotel, Gen Hotel over there, and some pretty good food at half the price. And of course, topping up your fuel tanks in Malaysia is always a good idea. So that's Putri Harbour. Okay, so that's a nice, but when you get over here, just avoid this whole stretch. If you see Poyen Reservoir, that is the SAFTI, stands for Singapore Armed Forces Training Institute, SAFTI live firing area. So they do artillery firings over here, and some of the rounds sometimes land in the water. So be careful. So you got to keep a little bit closer to these marks, SAFTI live firing area, as it says here. Okay, when you get to Putri Harbour. And if you continue up your journey all the way here, it's just nice waters, a lot of fishing, a lot of kelongs, a lot of fish farms along the way. And eventually you will reach back to the Causeway. Okay, that's a quick tour around Singapore's waters. Questions so far? Let's enter it.
You mentioned,
okay.
Sorry, you mentioned about topping up with fuel in Malaysia. Obviously,
yes.
That's not permitted with cars.
No, that's not permitted.
It's okay with boats, though.
Yeah, you can. So there's no 3/4 tank rule. You can leave with as little fuel as you want in Singapore. Just don't get stranded halfway. Yeah, but I mean, most boaters will leave with a full tank anyway. It's in your best interest to leave with a full tank, and when you get to Malaysia, you can top it up before you come back. Yeah. Yep. So that's yeah. Questions? Anyone? No. Otherwise, that's pretty much it for the day. I'm gonna just go through this. Yep. Yes. So today, first day. Thank you. I mean, we started on time. Everyone was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, so we finished a little bit ahead of schedule. But we finished the